how I got into powerlifting. So when I was younger, I say younger, I was 23, I decided to start going to the gym because I had always been smaller. I was 110 pounds when I graduated high school, and I didn't really get made fun of for it, but I got messed with a lot because of it. Like, people call me Little Lee because, like, I go by my middle name usually. Like, I was just like a pushover, really, and I wanted to get rid of that and also kind of replace my free time with a physical activity besides skateboarding, because I don't really have the time or resources to do that anymore. So start going to the gym, and one of the things that I had always noticed make someone look yoked was having big traps. If you have big traps, you look yoked no matter what. So I Google how to get big traps, and one of the first things that comes up is doing deadlifts. So I go on YouTube, type in deadlifts, and then I see some videos from the OGs, the Lily Bridges, Chris Hickson, Pete Rubish, Dan Green, all them. Like, dude, that is dope. That looks cool as hell. Also, it was more objective of a sport than like bodybuilding, which is very subjective. And I was like, dude, I've got to start getting into this. So from that point, I start training for powerlifting. I didn't even know much about the rules of the sport. I just knew squat, bench, deadlift, max out, right? So I start getting on some programs for it. It took me like 4 months into it before I realized your butt has to stay on the bench. Like, it was kind of cringe at first, but anyway, ended up training for that. Planned on signing up for a competition, but ended up joining the military, and I just wouldn't have been able to do the competition before I shipped off the basics, so whatever, I just go ahead and go to the Army. So I keep training for a few years, decided to do my first sanctioned meet while I was in AIT for the Army for 2 years. I did a bunch of, I guess you'd call them mock meets, like 1,000-pound club things in the Army, and I wanted to do my first sanctioned competition, so signed up at 145, the weight class. I did not do nearly as well as I thought I would, and it was very humbling for me. But I was like, dude, I've got to stick with this. And for a couple years, or for probably a year or so, I was going to try to stay at 145 for my weight class. And eventually I realized, look, if I'm going to make any more progress on my list, I'm going to have to move up a weight class at some point. So I start trying to move up to 165, but I end up injuring my shoulder because of some stupid military PT. Like, it's called the 8-count push-up. It's pretty much a burpee. I messed my shoulder up doing that stupid exercise, right? I couldn't bench for about a year and a half before I was able to actually get shoulder surgery. And it took another 6 months or so for it to heal, and after all that, I still could not bench without any pain. But at this point, I had already filled out 165 really well. I was a lean 165. And my squat and deadlift were shooting up, and I noticed that I could take the Georgia state record squat and deadlift. And I was like, all right, so I'm going to sign up for a competition. I'm just going to figure out a way to bench, touch my chest, get the press command, and I'm just going to do like a token bench. And I ended up chipping the squat record on my first attempt and ended up bumping it up 35 pounds and get to bench. And even though I hadn't practiced bench but a couple times with light weight before the competition, it was feeling pretty good. I had to touch like mid-stomach to be able to touch without it hurting, but I thought that was fine. Everything was feeling good, so I decided to go for my previous bench PR from before I got injured, which was 280. So it would have been 281 in kilos. Ended up breaking my arm on that attempt, so I bombed out of the competition. And it takes me a while to heal. Like, it's a broken humerus, that's a long healing process. So eventually I'm able to squat while it's still healing, and then eventually I'm able to start deadlifting because it's technically healed at that point. It just still kind of hurts a bit. So I keep doing that, and eventually I get to the point where I'm able to bench the bar, keep progressing, and 15 months later I finally match my previous bench PR of 281. So I'm like, all right, bet, it's time to do a competition. I was planning on taking the squat record again and getting the deadlift record that I had previously gone for, come to find out, after I had signed up, like a month after I signed up, I found out the squat record had actually gone up, but it was still within reach. Anyway, do the competition. I do decent. I didn't get any of the records I wanted, but I still put up a pretty good total, and everything that I did want was very close within reach. So I finally get out of the Army in this time, and I start working at a powerlifting gym, powerlifting and strongman gym. And a lot of the powerlifters there and employees were planning on doing a competition, and it was a great time frame for me, so I signed up to do the same competition. Prep went really well. I thought I was going to get a 500 dots this competition. I thought I was going to hit some really good numbers, and 2 days out, I get strep. Thankfully, I'm able to find some penicillin shots, and I take that, and I'm feeling decent after weigh-ins, like sick-wise, but I could still tell that it was going to affect me, which it did. I went 5 for 9. I got a 2.5 kilo squat PR, which was going to be my second attempt, but I had to retake it. I matched my bench PR, which was just my opener, and I do get a deadlift PR, which was 300 kg, so it was cool to get a 4 times body weight deadlift in competition, but it was not the numbers that I wanted. So now I am planning on competing in nationals in July. Hopefully I will be hitting at least a 555 pound squat, a 314 pound bench, and a 700 pound deadlift, and that will give me over a 500 dots. And that is the history of my powerlifting journey from start to where I'm at now.